To the front page of The Sun, and more allegations are coming in against Harvey Weinstein. It's a mining class that is talking to the Sun tomorrow morning, but every day, certainly this week, we've seen more people coming forward.
Feels like just about every actress that you've ever heard of, doesn't it? It's quite an extraordinary catalogue of allegations and, you know, quite a range of complaints from women, going right up from, you know, sort of insinuations and unpleasant language right up to the full criminal allegations of rape. I mean, it's an incredible spectacle.
And there's quite a lot of similarities between the women's accounts who are coming forward as well, which, you know, does sort of
a pattern of behaviour.
A pattern of behaviour, exactly. And I just think it's incredible. I mean, one of the things that's most striking about this is the extent to which it appears to have been an open secret in Hollywood. So everyone's known about this for years. Nothing's been done about it. Weinstein hasn't been held to account. And I think it's probably symptomatic. I think particularly in Hollywood and the film industry, you've got an industry where you've got a very small number of men, where there's a lot of power concentrated. They wield a lot of power over, you know, a large number of young women who want to work in that industry. And it seems like, you know, their behaviour has been enabled. And
just to say that it's on the front page of the Metro as well, NYPD and Met, so in London as well, there's an investigation into allegations against Harvey Weinstein. And we should say, when you mentioned the more serious allegations there, he has unequivocally denied any allegations of non-consensual sex. But with all these headlines like this, do you think that there is a chance that it could help change behaviour if there are people out there who are behaving inappropriately in the workplace?
Definitely, and I also think that things that were acceptable even 15 years ago. I mean, quite a lot of the allegations seem to relate to quite a long time ago. Seem to be in a cluster around 2004 and around that period. And I'm not saying that anything was acceptable that he was doing in 2004, but, you know, some of the allegations date back a lot longer than that. I think culture has changed hugely in that time, and behavioural differences now, you know, it has made an impact.
I mean, maybe it's changed a bit, but I think there are probably still these situations that go on where you do have men with very concentrated power, and they are able to use it over young women, and, you know, they're sort of almost doing it for the power and the power that they wield over people. I don't buy it was the 60s and 70s defence that I'm not saying you buy that either, no. But, but that is the defence that he's put forward. I really hope it will change culture, because I think the thing about situations like this, where you have these open secrets, you know, there's something that rings true here with Jimmy Savile at the BBC as well. It was an open secret there, many people say, what was going on, that, you know, his abuse of young girls. And I hope that it will change culture, because I think these men have never been held to account. We're seeing Harvey Weinstein now being held to account in an incredibly public way, and hopefully it will make these men think again.
OK, let's move on to get a couple more stories in if we can. The front page of The Times says child trafficking victims vanish from council care.
I think this is a really worrying story. So children who've been trafficked over, they're enslaved here in the UK, you know, children, very young children in some cases. They are rescued, taken into the care of a local authority, and it turns out that in some parts of the country, it seems that they may be being re-trafficked, so they're falling back into the hands of their abusers, back into the hands of gangs who've brought them over here. A couple of the areas that mentioned here in the Times is Rochdale, for example. 12 trafficked children have gone missing from Rochdale. That's a local authority that is under investigation already for the way that it dealt with allegations of child sex abuse. So I think this is a really, really worrying story. These children have been massively failed before they've even arrived here in the UK. And then you would hope that once they're in the hands of the authorities, once they're in the care of the state, they would be safe. But it appears that not all of them are.
And is this something to do with cuts, do you think? I mean, I wonder whether the councils will come back and say they've simply not had the resources to monitor these children in the way they would like to. I'm wondering what actually lies behind it. I know it's kind of slightly your special subject in a way.
I mean, I think there's no question that cuts and austerity have put huge pressure on councils. Their budgets have been cut by really significant amounts. But I would say that this is something, we've seen big failings in child services in councils when funding hasn't been an issue. So I think to some extent it's also that children's services are just not working as they should.
OK, let's try and whiz on, because we did promise we'd talk about GP care. And this is something that Jeremy Hunt has talked about today, 10 minutes with the GP.
I think this is a really interesting story. So the Health Secretary is essentially acknowledging that a 10-minute appointment, which is the kind of standard amount that doctors set aside per patient in the GP surgery, is not enough, particularly for older people. And many people watching this probably had the experience where they're very much discouraged from going into the GP with a whole variety of problems. You're really only supposed to make one appointment for each problem you've got. Well, look, health doesn't work like that, does it? You know, it makes no sense whatsoever to go in with one problem when several of your problems are likely to be interrelated. So, I mean, he's acknowledging that actually in an ideal world you'd have an hour.
But is it doable?
Really?
Well, that's a question for him, isn't it? I think there would be
GPs will say they can barely manage 5 minutes.
I think there are lots of GPs that will really welcome this from Hunt, but they will also say, we don't have enough GPs, there isn't enough money in the NHS as it is, so how are we going to fund this and pay for it?
Okay, and it may be something we visit again at 11:30 when you'll both be back. For the moment, though, thanks very much.